most of you know Rob. He's a local fisherman, entrepreneur, family man. He's made a couple trips to the Beaufort Sea, northern Alaska, and he's going to tell us about what happened up there and what he saw. So let's turn it over to Rob.
All right. Thanks. So you're going to see the back of my head, Eric, if I face this way? That's Eric Weaver, by the way. Hi, Eric. You got any fans? Yeah, we remember you. I took him hunting back in 1992. Anyway, nice to see Eric back in Alaska. And welcome to Cordova. This is exciting. I see good turnout. And so for me to introduce this, I kind of want to understand what perspective you guys have for about 2 seconds. I'd like to look around and I say, the interesting thing about this presentation is I have 3 segments. And the first one's kind of technical, but it gets the boys excited. So I think about big engines and big heavy things and moving material. And then,
come on.
well, okay, so that's good. Okay, good. Now I got Nancy excited. All right, so Nancy wants to see how I can pick a 100,000-pound thing up and put it on a truck and get it 900 miles north. Okay, so that's good. So she's interested in that. That was good. And then the second part is really about just trying to get this survey underway and the things that we got to put down to make it go. And then my favorite part is the last is critters that we bump into along the way, and how we identify them and where we go to protect them, because seismic survey uses energy sources, which is controversial. So the first thing is, sunsets are only about 30 seconds in August. So that's the other thing. It's kind of bizarre. The sun just goes around for quite a long time. And then about August, 15th or so, then you have a 30-second sunset and then sunrise. So that's a neat thing. And that's what happens here. And I want to give credit to Justin Newsy, who's in the audience, for this photograph. So thanks, Justin. That was good. So that's the first thing. So this is the bread and butter of what we do. We're looking into the earth for pockets. The managers of Alaska's resources are looking for resource, and they call them resource managers. Are they looking at the back of my head?
Yeah, isn't there a way to change so that the
They can
Are
see
they getting the internet?
Are you getting the PowerPoint, Eric?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you're not looking. Talk to me.
It's fine.
All right. I'm telling you, spent a lot of time in Louisiana, man. Good job.
y'all.
I like it. So what we end up with is, in the center of the slide, you can see some cone-shaped images. It's just the old-fashioned, when Mark King was young, he used a paper graph to look at the bottom of the sea, and that's what we're doing, is we're looking down on a reflective image. So we've got receivers spread about and an energy source from the surface, and it's echoing on an angle from all the different areas. And this particular job was 10 miles by 10 miles, and we put it together to make an underground image so the resource managers in Simpson Lagoon can see where their oil volumes, how much gas, how much pressure is on the oil. Because if the oil gets less pressure, the pumps cavitate. So they can't draw it too fast. So it's really about getting these guys information. And these people are from all over the world. They're very interesting to talk to. But that's what drives Alaska's economy in one facet. So that's what it's kind of simple. It's just an echo, a source down, and this is where the money comes from. So if we want to write a movie, we want people to steal the data. We have James Bond come in, and then we're going to need a fast boat, a lot of explosions, girls in bikinis, and we will have a movie script from this image right there. You think so? I think so. All right, so there it is. There's the money. This is where we're going to have Bond come in and steal this data, put it on a flash drive, and move on. All right, so this is the FDU, and that's the computer sending unit that's going to give the information back to the hardware. And there's the Geophone right up there. That's just a pressure sensitive device. We need to keep moving, don't we, Nancy? We got to get to the big heavy things, don't we? All right. So anyway, there's some cool guys, and they've loaded all this heavy duty stuff, and they've got all the cable on the Cape Fear, and there it is, ready to roll. Actually, you guys were picking that up there. So, man, good looking beard. Okay, and there is a real handsome guy there driving the boat, and they're laying cable here, I think. Cape Fear setting cable in Simpson Lagoon. There we go. All right, now, if you're going to have an energy source, you got to monitor how many decibels that pound makes. So the first thing they do is they go out and they put meters around. They're going to be able to read how powerful the sound is. Well, luckily, water absorbs the energy source, and so the sound doesn't travel very far. So this is a meter, and they're setting the meter in the water, and they put them all around the spread to monitor so that marine mammals don't get whapped in the head with the energy source. So that's what that's all about. And whapped is not really a technical term, but okay. Safety training. There you go. Man, do we train? Are we safe? Nobody's going to get hurt on this. It's like a giant oil spill drill up there. You're going to get so much training, and nobody's going to get hurt. And especially orange is about the coolest color because the Beaufort Sea is a lot like the flats. It is gray. It's gravel. It's gray. And it's so exciting. I thought that picture looked really cool. So if you go to Anchorage, this guy with the yellow right there is going to teach you learn to return. And he's going to put you in a helicopter basket, and you're going to have a fun time learning how to get out of the water without drowning. We need gear. We need lots and lots of gear. So here comes all this stuff. But Nancy keeps wondering, how do you get that stuff up the road? That's where we're getting there. We're getting there. So they rented that barge from Louisiana, Eric, and brought it up the highway. You recognize it?
No.
Oh, man. That's pretty good. Oh, and kudos to Megan. I don't know if she ran away, but she converted my Mac to a Windows flash drive so we could watch this. So if anybody does a presentation here, don't bring your Mac. Okay, so here we go. So this is aerial shot. Now, this is kind of cool because BP has a huge presence in the Arctic. I mean, these are gathering stations, and so they have these gathering stations with a line running out into Simpson Lagoon, and it shoots out about 7 miles, and they've drilled those wells back in the 80s. And the wells gather in this area, and so they let us use, we're kind of scum of the earth, we're seismic guys, so they let us use this beachfront because production's where the money is, so they get all the glory. And we're just out poking around looking for volumes of how much is left. Is it seeping over towards ConocoPhillips? Or is it turning to gas? You know, there's a lot of questions, and we are checking their fuel tanks is what we're doing with this particular project. And so here you have tides. Anybody know how big the tides are up there? What do you think, Robert? 3 inches, that's right, unless the wind's blowing, and then it can be 2 feet. And bringing up Bob Bursley's retirement, it was really cool because I got to go see him at the Pioneer. I'm not going to say anything embarrassing here, but anybody that was there at his party will remember he did a great job. But Bob was able to do the fish research up here and see and document and everything. So I bought a boat in Whittier, and I opened the book up. It's got this great big leather-bound book, and I open it up, and one of the biologists in 1974 was Bob. 76?
I'm not that old.
So it was pretty cool because I get this book and I go, all right, Bob's got history right in this area looking at the fish. And so I gave it to him for his retirement present, which I'm not sure if that was good or bad. But anyway, that was a fun night. But anyway, there's salmon swimming around here. I mean, it's kind of crazy. There's fish swimming around, and under the ice. Oh yeah, now we get up to delivering equipment. Now we get to heavyweight stuff. Because all this other business is about acquisition of information, right? We got to get the cables on the bottom, ocean bottom cable. We have to get the system set up, and then we got to deliver it. So I lied. He didn't make it into the thing. John Curran, right there. I forgot he was there. So there he is. He moved basically everything and did everything for everybody. He was a hero. But on the Alaganik, we have that recorder box right here. That's receiving the data from the energy source and coming back to show what's underneath the surface of the water. And so
Is that where all those computers were?
yeah, and so
First
that's where all the
pictures?
computers were, inside this little box that's welded to the deck. Now, what happens is we want to get this in, get this down, and get this going. And most of everybody that's there is all on the same page, but there's 300 people. So it's pretty chaotic. So it's a lot like war, you know. You try and be patient, you try and keep moving forward, you get misdirected and different information goes different ways. And at the end, you actually start getting product after about 3 or 4 weeks, and then you go like, all right, we're pretty good at this. But realistically, it's kind of bumbling around. And we're trying to be patient, be permitted, and be polite. And so you just go through this thing without killing anybody. And what we do is we set this on the land. These are unites. And so we're always looking for marine mammals, birds, anything that can be affected by our presence. If there's any polar bear sightings, I'll stop. It's a daily. Take it easy, be polite. The backbone of our cannery is a lot of Philippine people, and the backbone of the seismic industry is Laotians. And it's interesting that that's the nationality that's emerged as a strong back for the seismic industry almost worldwide. They've tuned into it, they're good at it, and they are safe. See, very light, yeah, you got you just safe. And we use helicopters to move things around. I'm a good solid plywood sheet. Okay, now Nancy, we get to move things. Yeah, because I started backwards. That's what we want. We want to get the data. That's what we're doing. We're trying to feed these resource managers data. We're trying to see what kind of project they want to accomplish, and then we try and get them to. We're trying to just get them the data, like any good project. So luckily, we go to Valdez, and we put these things on trucks because we're going to be working in the water. So when does the ice leave the Arctic? I mean, how can I put this thing in the water? It's July 10th, and it's chock-a-block full of ice still. So about July 17th, we were able to launch in the north. I mean, it's amazing. Sea ice, salt water, frozen until about the middle of July. So we start packing these things up about the end of June, and we package them up. All the windows are covered because rocks are flying. We're going to go on the highway. We're going to go 50 miles an hour with rocks flying everywhere. Then we go up. We're going to pick that thing up with a crane and set it on the truck. So they made this truck special for me. That was kind of neat. Alaska West. They are heavy haulers. Those guys are really together. If you're ever up in Fairbanks, and we have a representative from Fairbanks. Say hi to Leslie. She made it back. That's wonderful. Yay. Yep. So that's good. And so JR captured it and put it on Facebook that he saw he was in Carl's Jr. sitting there, and he goes, wow.
I know that boat.
I know that boat. And it's going by because it's 24 by 80 and it's 100,000 pounds. So it's like, wow, that's a big thing running down the highway. So that was kind of fun to look at Facebook. So it's not a full waste of time, like I tell my kids.
Nope.
Okay.
Just mostly.
Just mostly a waste of time. So the Alaganik is it was built here in Cordova. That's kind of fun, and you recognize the beginnings. Thank you. So that's wonderful. And here it is. What is Deadhorse? It's the end of the Dalton Highway. This is photographed thanks to John Curran. I probably wouldn't have never taken that photograph, but I saw he gave me a file. That's actually pretty cool. I mean, who the heck? I mean, there's one general store, and who can tell me the population of Deadhorse? Anybody know? I mean, of voting. You know what it is, Bill?
1.
You missed it by 2. It's 3. Yeah. So there's 100,000 people probably go through that little town, and only 3 of them live there. Everybody lives somewhere else. So Alaska's funny. We have all this energy and all this work and everything happening up there, but very little local community. It's in Barrow, and so we hire the locals from Barrow to come with us to do marine mammal observing. So they jump on the boat and they look with binoculars to see if there's a seal or a polar bear or any kind of marine mammal that could shut the job down. And so a lot of the locals are with us on our projects. So Deadhorse is, I don't know. We'll have to Google it. I can't remember. I think I heard once, but.
Page that describes why. It had nothing to do with a horse.
And what was it?
Didn't have anything to do with a horse. I can't remember the exact story, but it's odd. I always say, Whittier makes Deadhorse look nice, but
It really does.
It's an interesting
I mean, at
place.
least there's a glacier and a waterfall
Yeah.
in Whittier. So, and Bob, you're not that old, right? So you wouldn't know.
No.
Dang.
My time.
All right. All right. So here it is. The heavy haulers have got us to Deadhorse, and we're setting the boats. Now they've arrived after, I think from Valdez to Deadhorse is like 873 road miles because they got to go up and over. Their odometer says something like that. And then they have to lift things with cranes, and this is exciting, isn't it, Nancy? For big, heavy things, and just it's so industrial. This is the heavy, hard work, and then they have to set us in the water. So I just thought that was a pretty cool shot. Now, in Cordova, I get in my boat. This is kind of the oddity about working with a company that's gigantic and worldwide, is I get in my boat by stepping over the rail and hopping on the deck. No. It's way too dangerous. So what we have to get on a boat is over there. You get in the basket with your fall arrest system, and so then they cast you out upon the water, and they set you gently on the deck, because you would be so scary to step over a rail. So we don't do that anymore. We get in the basket, and you wonder why your fuel is $5 a gallon. All right, so there we have the hook point flying through the air, and then so Howie gave me these shots. Yes, his name is Howie, and Howie is up in the helicopter getting some shots of the ice, because we have a difference, right? Because the sea ice is melting faster, but it breaks into these bergy bits and actually is more a problem for our job, because what we're doing, we're long lining these hydrophones, and we have buoys all over the place. So now we've got all these bergy bits ripping through our spread and tearing our gear up. So yes, it's receded, and yes, the polar bears have less problem, but for doing seismic projects, it's actually a bummer, because now all of a sudden the bergy bits are moving more with the wind. So that's what we're on constant ice patrol, watching which way it moves, and then you get some interesting chunks, like all good Columbia glacier trips. You drive by and you see these unique images, and I just, you never get tired of looking at the birds, right? So at this time, it's 7:30, and so what I'd like to do is pause, because we went through a blitz of information on seismic. What is it, and what are your questions? Because this is a great time to stop and go, what do you think about this, what have you heard about it? Or what do you think about it? So what do you think, Carl? That's about right.
Do you have any problem with permafrost?
Permafrost.
Skewing the data?
Yes, because we drill in the swamp where the transition zone, and you'll drill in and try and submerge them slightly below the surface to get a more constant, the vibration's more pure. Waves can cause problems with noise. So we drill them in a little bit into the permafrost under the sea surface, and they freeze in. So then you can't get them back out. So you have to work around. It's really a problematic. You know, you want to go just deep enough. So that's a really good question, because how do you deal with this? And in a second, I'm going to show you how we drill them in.
But does the permafrost itself skew your data? Like I worked up there for a while, and we used resistivity. We had a great big 1 kilometer square wire, and we sent waves down, and we could, I don't know, I couldn't do it, but whoever was calculating, they could tell from what the readings were the distance to the top of permafrost under the water and to the bottom of the permafrost.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's a speed. It goes through sand slower, it goes through hard faster, it goes through water slower, and the people that get on my boat just go, oh yeah. Because what do we have? We have high-speed computers. And it's all about time. The energy source, boom, how long did it take to go down, bounce off, come back? So you're right. Permafrost can be a great conductor of vibration. So, but it's, for me, let me qualify this. I'm the bus driver. And the best I can do is interview people and get information. I'm not a geophysicist or a person like that, but the people that I talk to say, they can tell the speed what it's going through at that moment. And especially with, several thousand hydrophones down. And then we do geophones up on the beach. So yeah, permafrost is detectable. They can tell where it is. So,
Rob, you said it was shallow. What depths are you working at?
it's amazing. We'll be 1.5 miles off the beach, and it'll be 4 feet. Yeah, and since the tides are 6 or 8 inches at the most, it's just, that's why everything's jet boats. You just shallow water. It's just, I want them to grab my hovercraft, but they go, no, we need something that's more of a platform. So
how long are you operating?
yeah, so the ice goes away middle of July, and the whaling season starts August 25th. So as soon as they start shooting whales, we have to get out of their way. And we are permitted to get out of their way and work around their edges, but the whalers take precedence over all activities. So the Sweetbriar, no, that one retired, and now it's the Sycamore. Okay, I am that old, Bob. Okay, so the Sycamore hauled all the explosive heads for the native whalers this year. And so it was cool because I got to see these high-speed boats racing past me with these giant torpedo things on the end of their deal. The first one they kill with the skin boat, and they stab it and everything. And then after that, it's open season. It's like airboats out here, right, for most season. So it's pretty neat. They've got just whopper big grenade. Yeah. I never got to see them get one, but they're full on. 5 guys in a 40-knot boat racing around getting whales. It's pretty neat. I'm gonna do it someday. I didn't. What's that?
You nervous seeing your boat in the air?
Seeing their boat in the air?
Seeing your boat in the air?
It's highly insured.
Okay.
So, no, it doesn't matter to me. Yep. So real quick, let me just show a couple chunks of ice. And the ice that's my anchor cable. It bashes us, right? So if anybody has any questions as I go through this, just shout out or start yelling at me or something. Hit me with some tomato. This is where I wanted to get to when you're talking permafrost. How do we get these geophones down? And we looked up, dang it, I left the brochure out in the truck. But Switzerland. I think some of your relatives probably built this, Dana. And BP owns these things, and they're jet boats with tracks. Yeah. Ooh. This is big boy toys here. Yeah, and so look at where the dude rides, right up in there. Yeah. There's a human right there. They're giant. And they're super low compaction because they're so spread out, and they're really light fiberglass bodies. And then they have little drill rigs on the back for putting the swamp phones in. So this looks like the guy who doesn't have much clout. But it's pretty neat because these are the spuds. So when they're ready to set their drilling, they send their spuds down and they anchor this ARKTOS, right? It's an evacuation craft. So if the whole world's going to heck and gone, you get in this to get out of the problem. But anyway, we hired, I think there were 3 for this project. And I like to say we, but it doesn't go very far actually. This is where the iceworm queens stand to get coffee at Iceworm when it's not full of cable. So these are some batteries that energize our system. They're totally watertight. They're welded closed with 1/2-inch thick aluminum, so no whatever you call it, the gases, the acids can't escape, because we're permitted very tightly. This is incredibly, we want to be incredibly careful because we want to be able to do it the next time, right? So these are, that yellow one's a pinger. It's a locator. This is the FDU for the water. And where's the hydrophone? They're woven in there somewhere. So anyway, we make mountains of cable, and any toe like that is steel toe. Safety first, right? Okay. Any questions on this stuff? I'm kind of going through kind of fast.
Rob.
Yeah.
How long is one section of that geophone cable?
Yeah, so it's 10 miles on one stretch, but this pile here is there's probably only 4 or 5 miles right here. So it takes a lot of gear. And
is that one continuous line? For 4
you can
miles?
break them at each of the black connectors, and they're every 66 feet, I think, between hydrophones. See, in the old days, you'd go 250, 300, 400 feet because they were expensive and your computer couldn't handle that much data. So the difference between the 70s and 80s, when the little champ used to do this, was that was spread out and the data was just not, your computer couldn't handle the data. Now we've gone to high res, man. I mean, it's the high definition TV now, how they can look down. And they can go from, instead of 10,000 feet, they can look 20,000 feet. But you can't use an energy source that big unless you're permitted to do it. So they look around and they say, are there fish? Are there marine mammals inherent to this area? They'll pull back the amount of energy you can release in that area. So certain parts we can release larger amounts of energy, and certain parts we release a small amount of energy. It's all permitted. And it's really great because every boat will have a different person that's savvy to this, and they're looking for marine mammals, and so it's pretty well regulated that way. So yeah.
What's the difference between a hydrophone and a pinger?
Oh yeah. A pinger locates where the cable ended up. So if we're in 30 feet and we set it, and maybe there's some current and it takes it off course and it lands a little off course, then another boat will come by and shoot a really tiny energy source down, and it will actually pinpoint where that landed. Now when the big boat comes over and thumps the earth, then they can really find it. So a hydrophone is receiving data, and a pinger locates where it is, because you want to know exactly where that particular hydrophone is, so that when the reflection comes up, and again, it's all time, energy source here, receiver here, it has to know exactly when and where, because it's all GPS and differential. I mean, they're down to where they can see permafrost or salt domes, and really something. I mean, it just, I don't know, it gets me excited because being able to handle this much information was totally impossible even 10 years ago. We're doing things that we couldn't do then.
Is it getting laid over a roller or something? Or?
Yeah, so when we set this gear, it's usually you just set it like with a bow picker, you throw it right out the front and run over it. And then you just dump it out, and you are driving totally blind. You look at the computer screen. The computer tells the person when to open the gates. You're totally a robot. It makes it super easy. Okay, so now we're up to energy source. So there it is, a release of compressed air underwater. It's usually about a meter to all the way down to 3 meters deep. And when the energy source is released, the concussion is created twofold. The first one is when the stainless pin pulls and shuts. It actually creates an underwater concussion, and then it also creates a bubble. There's a second concussion when the bubble, and it depends on how big the caliber is or how big the allotted concussion is. With the 600 cubic inch guns, they'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'll do 8 guns, and that'll be a bubble about the size of a Volkswagen, and it'll clap. But that's the biggest you can go, and most of the time, like these are just, I think these are more like 25 cubic inch. It depends where you're at, but most of the time it's just an air bubble of about a meter. And so then there's a 2-clap system that goes concussion, bang, and then air, and then water falling in on the air bubble. So that's what makes the energy, or the
a mechanical deal driven by air.
Yeah, the gun itself is a stainless gun, and the patent unfortunately belongs to a guy down in Houston, and he's super rich, and I have his telephone number if you want to call him and get some money. But that dude, he invented this thing, and all it is a little pin that just goes like that. And each gun has its own signature. They can even tell in the recorder which gun just went off. I mean, computers are amazing now. And so each gun, and you can put 4 guns on each rack, and then whether you can use all 4 guns or not depends on where you're at in the spread, because there can be sensitive areas to where there could be birds or different things. So the permit will tell the computer where they can release what energy source. So yeah, it's just 2,000 psi coming out to these guns, and it just goes. So just hold your air compressor underwater and squeeze it, and it just kind of goes something like that. It's kind of simple.
What do the guns look like?
They're just stainless housings, maybe 1 foot long and 4 inches around, and it's just a stainless steel sleeve that just opens a pin and shuts it very quickly, and it just releases this bubble of air that's 2,000 psi, which is pretty high pressure. So they have air generators, which are maybe 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet, and they'll have 5 of those on the deck with big diesel engines driving them. So really noisy. A lot of energy goes into the air compressing, and then they'll release it every 4.4 seconds, and then bang, it'll go off, and then quiet for 4 seconds, and then bang, it'll go off again, and it rattles the boat. So this is just a quick layout. Compressed air is released from the stainless guns. That's what I've been saying. So here's the umbilical that leads back to the compressor, and this is just a tagline.
Do they reload that quick?
Yeah, it takes those huge engines to reload it that quick, but they'll have 10-cylinder air compressors, and then 200 horse engines on each of 5 compressors. So, and then it's all to get this data. Who can read this? This is raw data. That's why James Bond's not going to be involved with this so much. This is too raw. We need a geophysicist to start boiling it into information. And they do that on the grounds. And what I wanted to do was, at the beginning, I showed a shot of a quick little clean, this is crap. This is where you're going. you guys, it's too windy, and each of the white caps is making too much noise. Shut it down. So imagine, here you have $1 million a day operation, and they go, stop. And so they say, what are you waiting for? We're waiting for the white caps to quit. Well, guess what? The Beaufort Sea blows every direction all the time. So these guys fight this stuff constantly, and then they finally, at the end, they're just like going, we don't care, just get anything and we'll filter it. So that's bad data there. It's with all this noise. And to tell you the truth, they'll pick up helicopters flying over. They'll pick up fixed wings. I had quite a few boats come by that were motoring past me from the Netherlands and France and England, because the Northwest Passage is open, man. You can do it. So people are driving past me. I said, yeah, I got buoys all across this area here. You know, you want to avoid them if you can, because it's problematic for them. It's problematic for us. So the Coast Guard has a small presence at West Dock now, and they're thinking about building a station up here. But right this minute, it's pretty wide open if you want to go cruising. So they got lots of rules. Some are helpful and some are not. Don't smoke and don't smile. Be grumpy. That's what we do. All right, so before I go into wildlife, because we did our homework, do you feel smarter? Okay, that's technical stuff, right?
What's the temperature right about that time of day?
The temperature, actually, John Kern took a photograph, 95 in the sun. So it could get really hot. That was the hottest day. I mean, I think it was one of those no wind, no anything, but the typical ambient is around 50. So, but when it gets sunny, because it's sunny all the time, so that's a big deal. So he's getting a lot of play tonight, man. Where is he? That's good.
He's already seen it.
Yeah, he's already seen this. Mm-hmm. Okay, David. What is it?
Black element?
Yeah. Okay, it's tough to photograph those with the backlight. That's what we kept coming up with. But man, there are birds. That place comes alive. You get up there, and then all of a sudden, it's this desolate area that's icy and everything, and just like that, it turns into a wildlife haven. The whole Arctic explodes with wildlife. It's so fun to watch something, and we see it here quite a bit too, but it just happens so quick, and just as quickly it stops and goes back the other way. And what's the first thing? The first signs of spring here is just all this, what do they call this stuff? Fox food? Yeah, man, because those little rascals have to stash these guys for the whole winter, and so they end up cobbing just tons of these little goslings. Just, they're everywhere. It's amazing. Oh, there's one right there. And he's just licking his chops, man. They were everywhere, and they're just cute little things, but boy, are they vicious. First they take all the babies, and then they start taking mama. And so when you see this guy, he's like this big. He's just like a little bit bigger than Pete, you know? And everybody knows Pete. Anyway, so you end up with this thing that's a tiny. Hey, Eric, Pete's a little wiener dog we have over here in Cordova. He's loved by everybody, okay? You with me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, good. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on who Pete was. All right. There he is, taking him home. Check it out. You got your gosling there, man. I mean, they're just voracious. These little rascals will stash those guys, and then they'll go right back and get another one, and right back and get another one. But they're fun. It's amazing. And then we got our swans there. It's something else. They're just big, just beautiful. And they have to make hay because it happens fast. So they fly up and they nest because there's just not the predators, I would guess. And then there you go. There's the question. Can you find it? Can you see the bird nesting?
Looks like roadkill.
And it's alive?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a female. Yeah. Can you see her?
Yeah.
This is Audubon, right? You guys know what birds are. Okay, there she is, right there. So you got it? You find it? God, I mean, it's amazing. So how come, what does it say? Good job finding the hidden female bird. I did this. I'm not very good at this. This is my first presentation thing I ever did, PowerPoint. Okay, why do the boys get all the color, right? That's the question. Da-dun, da-dun. I mean, you talk about proud, huh? Stay away from my wife. She's hiding back there. God, that guy's my hero. Yeah, that's a good looking, that's a king eye right there. And then this is kind of neat too, because you think of industry as being just all nasty, rusty pilings and, you know, and then all of a sudden you see this like almost plastic, you know, China doll type, just beautiful. Is that guillemot there? Is that, which one? Yeah?
You're up in an area where they get the black guillemots, just the farthest west they go. We have pigeon guillemots here.
Well, they're just absolutely artificial looking when you look at them. They don't look real because they're just so perfect. Their feathers are just absolutely groomed. So this is fun. That was a really cool shot because the steel it looked great. So, oh yeah, and then in the jet grates sometimes you'll get these prehistoric, what are they? Tribalites or what's that? Isopods. Oh, isopods? Thanks, Bob. Yeah, and so there's just amazing things hidden in the sand, hidden in the edges.
How big are those?
That particular one was about 3 inches long. Yeah, I mean that's big for a little tiny creature. So here's your driving instructions. Stop for all animals. You have to stop for all animals. So if there's a caribou in the road and you're late for dinner, tough luck. You sit and wait, and you wait until that critter moves along, which is fine. For hours. Yeah, and you just go like, can we just shoot one and eat it? You know, because it's just, but I mean, we're visitors, so it's very important to be respectful of the wildlife there, and look at that coat change. I mean, that just looks like he's going through a tough day, you know, bad hair day or something. But the caribou are thick. They come in and they're everywhere, and then they're gone, and it's just everywhere for a while. Got a good slide there of the caribou just wandering around. And then you think of brown bears, but these guys are tiny compared to Kodiak, or you got the round, even Hinchinbrook or something. And so they just don't have quite the food stashed up there that they do here. Yeah.
Looks like it has a tail.
Oh yeah, that's just his back leg. Yeah, he's just striding with his 2 left legs are dark, and his 2 right legs are lighter. So just shaggy bear, right? It's just different. It's just a harder way of living. And then of course the muskox are kind of fun because they're just so unusual. And so you have a chance to see some of the things, and they I don't know, they're just different. I don't know what else to say about the muskox, but they're really fun they're smaller than I thought they would be. So you learn that when you're up around them. And then this sign got some play. Megan chose to put that on the email. But how often do you see that, right?
But a sign without bullet holes?
Exactly. So they put a hinge in here, and they snap it up, right? So that the hinge. So if you're out on the beach and you're getting ready to put your boat in the water, or whatever your work you're doing, which you have to be really careful about. Any work you do there is got to be very careful of. Any hot work has to be permitted, and any grinding has to be captured within an area. And so for us, we have yellow lights on the buildings. So if the yellow light is flashing, there's a polar bear in the area. So you got to get out of the area. And so the polar bears are mostly curious during the summertime. They're not so hungry. And so this one was walking around right on the pad at Endicott. This is from 2008. And so he's just walking around looking kind of curious. They don't have anybody really pressuring them, so they're pretty confident, you know. Plus they're big and mean and they can rip you up. So I guess I'd be confident too.
So is that a light pole that would be on?
Yeah, so, well, the light, that particular light pole is actually holding some antennas, but the yellow light is on the connexes that are behind us. So, and then Craig Kuntz gets credit for this shot. He's standing on the roof of the Cape Fear when that thing chased everybody up into the boat because they were rolling cable on the beach. And I mean, nobody, because there's bear guards everywhere, but nobody saw the bear, and all of a sudden, you know, Craig sees the bear, says, okay, get in the boat. So everybody jumps in the boat. They're just pushing the beach. And then the bear jumps in the water behind him and then swam around.
Did he take the picture first and then tell everybody?
Yeah, always get your picture first.
And then see.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so these things are huge. And it's kind of fun because for anybody who's traveling around, the first thing you do is go, what is around here? So you oh, well, let's see a polar bear. So you wait and wait and wait, and then all of a sudden they'll find a carcass. A whale will wash up on the beach or something, and man, do they won't leave then. They're so thrilled because they have thousands of pounds of food. So the bears are right in your neighborhood. And then you're supposed to report the bear and go through the process. They keep track and they watch their movements. And so much of this is I don't know. I think they have a tough life, you know. The food is hard to find, and when you find it, it's just in great abundance, like a whale. So that, you know, 9 of them were there eating on this whale, and then once they were done, then they start wandering around looking for the next thing. So there's not much security in that. This particular cub had a busted leg too. I think that was his kind of hauling himself is kind of a 3-legged job. But they have a rough time of it, I think. But Daddy-O wants to eat him up. Okay. All right. So if you are in Deadhorse, you are 494 miles from Fairbanks, and Coldfoot, your next stop at Dirk and Danielle's, is 240 miles. There you go. And there is the Beaufort Sea as I saw it in 2012. So that's what I got. So what do you think about that? Any questions?